used the word street value, crush, or snort in 117 internal notes recording their visits to doctors or other medical professionals from 1997 through 1999. This was well before the time they said they knew about some of the problems already surfacing about their very dangerous drug. The 120-page report also cited emails showing that Purdue Pharma's owners, the members of the wealthy Sackler family, were sending reports about the abuse of oxycodone and another company, Opioid, MS Contin. As we know, that was also being abused, and that was the one created before opioids. The one that was the kind of baby cousin, if you will, the predecessor to the release of the opioid drug, if you remember back during the 1980s when it was first released. So, here's a direct quote. "We have picked up references to abuse of our opioid products on the internet," Purdue Pharma's general counsel, Howard R. Erdo, wrote in an early 1999 to another company official. The same year, prosecutors said the company learned of a call to a pharmacy describing Oxycontin as, quote, "the hottest thing on the street. Forget Vicodin." Howard Udell, the general counsel, and other company executives testified in Congress that and elsewhere that the drug maker, again, did not learn about Oxycontin's growing abuse until early 2000, when the United States Attorney in Maine issued an alert. So today, Purdue Pharma, which is based in Stamford, Connecticut, maintains their position. So what they're saying here is they still maintain, since they signed that plea deal with the special government, and they agreed, the federal government, they were allowed to skip out of wrongdoing. They were pretty much allowed to come free and say, well, we didn't do anything wrong. We can't be charged. We can't be brought out of business, or we can't be punished anyway. We can't. We don't have to stop selling these drugs because technically, why would we stop? We didn't do anything wrong. Over the past 2 decades, more than 200,000 people have died from the United States from overdoses involving prescription opioids. States and cities continue to follow a wave of lawsuits against Purdue Pharma and other opioid manufacturers and distributors. A spokesman for Purdue Pharma, Robert Josephson, declined to comment on the allegations in the report, but said the company was involved in efforts to address opioid abuse. I should hope so. Suggesting that activities that occurred more than 16 years ago are responsible for today's complex and multifaceted opioid crisis is deeply flawed. So he thinks it's deeply flawed. I think that's very, very interesting take on the matter. I think it's deeply flawed that what you guys did and you talked about it. Like, pretty much the evidence is all there. Meyer obtained this report. He knows what's going on here. And he knows, and we now know, based on his reporting from this government document that was sent to him because someone was upset that only a plea deal was given to these people, we now know that these people were the ones who started this opioid crisis here. Yeah, this happened all in 2007. The company's chief executive, Michael Friedman, its top medical officer, Paul D. Goldenheim, and Udell, who died in 2013, each pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor misbranding charge that solely held them liable as Purdue Pharma's, quote, responsible executives and did not accuse them of any wrongdoing. And then we got the part where they paid $634.5 million in fines. And this seems to be a little bit disproportionate because these people here are undisputedly the root of the problem. I mean, they are the people who caused this situation. Meanwhile, in our government today, we have tough crackdowns on opioids. We have really tough positions on it. There has been, to quote the president, some bigly words spoken about this from him. He declared it as one late in 2017. He promised that he will do something about it, or he declared the opioid crisis as a crisis in late 2017, he declared an epidemic as well. He promised that he will do something about it, that he would spend the money, and that the number of drug users and the addicted will start to tumble downward over a period of years. And he made those assurances at his State of the Union and others. So what he did was not much. It's quite a different story, as Vox explains, if you look at Trump's actions. There's been no move by the Trump administration to actually spend more money, as he said he would, on the opioid crisis. Key positions in the administration remain unfilled, even without nominees in the case of the White House Drug Czar office and the Drug Enforcement Agency, or DEA. And even though the administration's emergency declaration was renewed this month, it essentially led to essentially no action, since it was first signed. He was also called, in some off-the-cuff campaign comments, for execution of drug dealers. The point is, these people have really ignored the people at the top. These the Trump associates, Trump and his administration, they have focused not so much on the problems with the abusers, not so much with the problems. They have focused on the problems with the abusers. They've focused on the problems with the drug dealers. They focused it at the bottom rung. They've really made a concerted effort here to target the bottom rung, which is a little bit problematic because if you cut off that flow, you're punishing people who really are kind of being guilted into it and have been largely misled up until this point. What we need to do is cut it off at its source, Purdue Pharma. That's my take on the matter, and something that should really, I think would do quite a bit more to help solve the opioid crisis than arresting and executing drug dealers. Because if we gave them no drugs, they wouldn't have to deal, and especially a drug that has been so deceptively and monstrously pushed through our system and into regulation today with lies, deceit, and just awful criminal actions. This has been Season 1 of Spotlight. Thank you so much for listening.